As the chalk settles on the 2021 IFSC season, it's time to look back at the highs and lows, drama, despair and triumph. And it all started in Meiringen, Switzerland for the Boulder World Cup.
Year after year, Meiringen attracts the world's best climbers. And after such a long break due to COVID, it felt especially special. Let's have a look at the podium finishes, and it was Team Japan with 2 men in the medals. Tomoaki Takata managed to get a top in the tricky men's set, turning on the power on his way to bronze. His teammate Yoshiyuki Ogata was the only athlete to send the first boulder, with a huge move in the middle to the zone and a heart-stopping moment at the top. Silver for him. Recognise this man's fingers? Adam Ondra was back and on form. Adam is all about passion, and you always know what he's thinking on the wall. With 3 tops out of 4, he was miles ahead of the rest. In this Olympic year, it was a statement to the other athletes. Let's have a look at the women's comp, and I'll let you in on a secret. Natalia Grossman, the bronze medal finisher in Meiringen, had a special 2021, and it all started here with 2 tops and that medal. Oriane Berton was just 16 coming into this season, and she has this risky, exciting style to her climbing. A silver medal announced her intentions for the season ahead. Janja Garnbret simply wins almost everything, and she kicked off her season with a bang with an incredible 4 tops in just 7 attempts. She was ahead of everyone and cruised the final boulder with this interesting crack-like feature. So another gold medal for Janja to add to her collection, and now it's time to head to the USA. Salt Lake City is quickly becoming a hub and destination for climbers to visit. And it was Brooke Raboutou who made the first big impression, setting her home crowd alight with flashes on the first 2 boulders for a bronze medal. Oriane Berton was back and once again in form. This flash of Boulder 2 setting her up for an exciting fight with Natalia Grossman. Gold will come for her one day, but this time she had to settle for silver. Natalia Grossman, in front of her home crowd, having just moved to Salt Lake City to train, was on fire. 4 tops out of 4 and 2 flashes on the way. The final boulder took her 10 attempts, but she had to finish it for the win, and did. Her first senior gold medal, amazing. In the men's comp, Jakob Schubert had his concentration face on, jumping for the arête on boulder 4. He kept it together through the slopers to top and flash the climb and get 3rd place. Young French climber Mejdi Schalk has been a potential threat for a while, and his hard work paid off in America with strong performances. Three tops and a zone was enough for silver. Hot on the heels of his last victory in Switzerland, Adam Ondra once again saw gold in Salt Lake, crushing the 4 boulders. He was the only athlete to climb all of them, and once again, unstoppable. World Cups in Salt Lake City were a double-header, so we returned to the same venue the next week. And it was all change at the top of the men's podium after Adam Ondra pulled out through injury. So let's start with the bronze, and it was one of the Olympic favourites, Tomoa Narasaki, who worked out the tricky coordination dyno move of Boulder 4 to get the bronze. His teammates Kokoro Fuji couldn't send Boulder 4, but unlocked the running start to the first climb, and got zones on the others for a silver medal. Sean Bailey was delighted to take victory. He launched himself across the slabs and pressed to the top before making the huge leap to the final hold of Boulder 4 for his first ever senior gold medal. The women's comp saw lots of tops, and Brooke Rabatu was back on the podium with another bronze. Janja Garnbret returned after a break from the first Salt Lake City comp and topped all 4 boulders in just 6 attempts, surely enough for the win. But it wasn't to be her day. Natalia Grossman was on a different level of form. Flashing all 4 boulders in a spectacular display, she took the gold and Janja was bumped down to silver. So it's time to head back to Europe and the climbing mad city of Innsbruck in Austria. A huge storm rolled through, leading to delays, and eventually just 3 out of the 4 boulders were part of the women's final due to time restraints. Stasha Geo won her first medal of the season with a bronze, needing just 2 attempts to work out and climb Boulder 2, which required power and precision. Fresh from her gold medal in Salt Lake, Natalia Grossman picked up another medal with a silver. She pulled off some inverted moves on problem 1 as the incoming storm sent the wind blowing through the stadium. Janja Garnbret was back on top form and put on a flawless display, flashing all 3 boulders. Her battle with Natalia once again proving to be the highlight of the comp. The men's competition was also weather affected, and the decision was made to climb just 3 of the 4 boulders. Kokoro Fuji didn't have a solution for the first 2 climbs, but he did what no other athlete could and teetered up the slab on the final climb. That top being enough for a bronze. Tomoa Narasaki upgraded his bronze from the last comp with a silver in Innsbruck. He almost dropped this huge move on the second climb, but pushed through, topping out and getting 2 zones on the other climbs. Yoshiyuki Ogata had missed out on the podium in the last few comps, but he was back and at the top here. He started strongly, using static strength and pure determination to top out twice and get that gold. His victory completing a lockout of the podium places for Team Japan.
So far we've just looked at the bouldering, but let's step things up in terms of speed. Speed climbing is simple. Get to the top of the wall as fast as possible whilst beating your opponent. Let the races begin.
Set in the beautiful scenery around Salt Lake City was the speed wall, with the familiar red hold snaking to the top of the wall. Miho Nanaka is not a speed specialist, but she's had to train for that discipline for the Olympics. She picked up her first speed climbing medal with a bronze, beating Patricia Hujiak. It was a close race until Patricia slipped halfway through. Although Miho had her own moment near the top, she pushed on for the medal. had showed how far her training has gone and made it clear that she could be a contender for the Olympic medal. The finals race was between Alexandra Miroslav and Emma Hunt. The winner gets gold, loser silver. It was neck and neck all the way, with Alexandra just beating Emma to the timing pad by 0.157 of a second. Once again, the crowds were treated to a blink and you'll miss it moment. For the men, Marcin Dienski faced off against John Brosler for the bronze. With both men's PBs being almost the same, it was going to be tight. Both men exploded off the starting blocks, but the smallest of slips from John opened the door for Marcin, who capitalised and took the medal. Gold and silver was between Indonesian teammates Kermal Katabin and Vedrik Leonardo. It was an explosive race. Both men pushed each other all the way, but it was Vedrik who stopped the clock first and got a new world record in the process with a 5.208. Both athletes celebrated together as a new standard for men's speed climbing was set. Villars-sur-Olon is a small village nestled in the Swiss Alps. We stick with speed and the men's comp. Vladislav Julian was up against Kermal Katabin for the bronze. Kermal was behind, but somehow found another gear, accelerating through the final third and just beating Vladislav by the smallest of margins. Gold was on the line between world record holder Leonardo Vedrik and Dmitry Timofeev. An early slip down low meant Leonardo once again stood on top of the podium with another blisteringly quick time. In the women's comp, Patricia Hujiak was back in action against Desak Madre. It looked like Patricia would miss out on the podium like in Salt Lake, but then a slip from Desak allowed her to come back and take victory and a bronze medal. The final saw Russian athletes Yulia Kaplina and Ekaterina Barashuk face off against each other. Ekaterina had the cleaner race and was ahead all the way through for the gold, while Yulia got silver. The emotion was clear to see for Ekaterina, the auto-belay descent allowing her to soak in the atmosphere.
So we've looked at boulder and speed. Let's put a rope on and check out the lead comps. The aim is to get as high as possible on the overhanging walls without falling off. It's a discipline with plenty of excitement, hard moves and huge falls.
Innsbruck hosted the first lead comp of the year. Akio Noguchi, a legend on the comp scene, had announced that she would be retiring after the Olympics. But in her final year, she's lost none of her drive or skill. With her characteristic flowy style, she breezed through the bottom of the route, coming unstuck trying to bump to a side pull. A bronze medal to add to her extensive collection. By this stage of the year, Brooke Rabatu had already received a collection of medals. Could she continue in the lead circuit? She easily passed Akio's high point and got to hold 40 with the top in sight. The final slopers, however, proved too hard and she fell, the silver medal being a great consolation. Janja Garnbret is just as home on a lead wall as a bouldering wall, and she was aiming for the win. She climbed herself into contention, resting high on the wall as the sun set behind her. She passed Brooke's high point, cut loose and topped out for the gold medal. Darkness had set in for the men's comp. and the first medal was won by Swiss powerhouse Sascha Lehmann. Always a crowd favourite, Sascha got a score of 38+, powering out near the top of the wall. Stefano Ghisolfi is used to winning comps and crushing on real rock. He worked his way through the techie sequences, and with the final hold almost in reaching distance, he couldn't quite finish the climb, but ended with an impressive silver. Jakob Schubert lives and trains in Innsbruck, and the crowd were behind him throughout his climb. He kept his composure and again almost topped the route, the judges deciding that his score was 47+, just ahead of Stefano's 47. Hometown gold for Jakob. With the speed comp in Villars finished, we turned our attention to the lead wall that dominated the arena. At 17 and an Olympic qualifier, this was Colin Duffy's first senior season. Despite his lack of experience, he eased through the lower sections, pressing up through the little roof and missing a dish-shaped hold. Still, enough for bronze. Mist rolled through the mountains and around the lead wall as Alex Megos tied on and started his climb. If the conditions were tricky, it didn't seem to affect him, and he powered on, eventually falling with a score of 35+ and a silver medal. Sean Bailey was perhaps not the favourite in Villars, but what a performance from him. For the women, Natalia Grossman came out smiling and crushing, sticking this swing to a side pull before resting high on the route. With that smile still on her face, a spectacular fall near the top meant a bronze medal for Natalia. Laura Rogerer had a few moments during her climb, but controlled the nerves. Her more static approach saw her saving energy and clipping the chains to an ecstatic celebration. Would it be enough? Janja Garnbret was the only woman who could still beat Laura. If she finished the route, she would win due to count back to the semi-finals. Look, was it ever really in doubt? Domination once again for Janja as she finished in style, pushing Laura into the silver medal position. Our next lead comp was over the mountains into France and the town of Chamonix. Let's start with the women, and another young climber, 16-year-old Alexandra Totkova. She reached the holds on the final head wall before falling for bronze. Natalia Grossman was back and, you've guessed it, still smiling. Against the amazing mountain scenery, she climbed a few holds higher than Alexandra for the silver. Laura Rogerer, who came so close to winning in Villars, was looking for revenge in Chamonix. With the crowd cheering her on, there were no mistakes. She was the only woman to top the route and came out in first for gold. The men's route was a brutal affair, with many of the athletes falling on the same sequence. Martin Stranik, who is a veteran of the circuit, broke through the crux sequence and got to the same hold as Stefano Ghisolfi. Due to count back to the semi-finals, Martin was awarded bronze, Stefano the silver. Sean Bailey has already got a lead gold to his name, and he made it a double with another win in Chamonix with a score of 34+. We stayed in France and a few days later went to Briançon, another mountain town with that alpine backdrop. Martin Stranik was back in action and took time to celebrate with the crowd on his way to another bronze medal. He's having a real resurgence and it's fantastic to have him back. Another athlete who has returned to the podium is Dmitry Fakiryanov, who last won a medal in a lead World Cup in 2017. He had an incredible comp, getting a score of 39+ and a silver medal. Stefano Ghisolfi had to dig deep in Briançon, but as always, he had his sights set on the top spot. His full climb is worth watching as it was one of the standouts of the year and took his first gold of the year. The women's route was powerful throughout, which suited Vita Lucan's style. Check out this toe-to-hand move, these sequences proving to be the crux of the route. It was enough for a bronze medal for Vita. Resting high up on the wall, Natalia Grossmann was loving the moment. She fell deep into the head wall, eventually firing off a crimp back to the ground, but another medal for her. Eliska Adamovska was climbing in her first senior lead World Cup final, and what a moment to find the form of her life. She made one move towards the next hold higher than Natalia and took an incredible, emotional win. Her first gold, and congratulations. Next up, and finally, the old school and featured wall of Slovenia's Kranj competition. Natalia Grossmann was back on the podium again with a bronze in a women's route that no athlete managed to top. Cheon-So returned in her first comp after the Olympics and stamped her mark, getting high before a stretched out, insecure position spatter off the wall. Janja Garnbret, now an Olympic gold medalist, was competing in front of her home crowd at this legendary venue. She was still motivated and, as always, gave it everything. She made it through the traverse on yellow blobs, fought the pump in the top section and climbed higher than all the rest for gold. Sebastian Halenke has been going from strength to strength in his comeback season, having taken a bit of a break in recent years. His bronze medal in Kranj showed the progress he's made. This corner proved to be the crux of the route that flummoxed a lot of the finalists. Luka Potteja had a fantastic competition, breaking onto the podium. It's a season that's seen consistent progression from him, but that corner proved too much. It was enough for a silver medal. Masahiro Higuchi, who's come close to a podium this season but hasn't quite got a medal, broke that duck in Kranj with a wonderful gold. He climbed brilliantly in a display that saw him go through the corner and out onto the slopey holds under the roof. His hand raised high on the podium, he celebrated his medal. Paraclimbing is an incredible part of our sport, and once again the athletes gave everything on the wall here in Moscow. The goal? Simple. To find world champions. Let's start with men's B1, the visually impaired athletes. Sho Aita was out first and topped out in style, flowing through the route with confidence for that gold medal. For women's B2, it was Abigail Robinson, climbing on the modified speed wall, who found that final hold and walked away with the win. Next was men's B2, and another win for Team Japan, as Fumiya Hamanu launched across the powerful traverse section, getting to the high point and the victory. Women's RP2, neurological or physiological impairment, was dominated by Selene Piret. She was precise and strong, yet another win for her, and what a performance. Pavitra van der Hoven unleashed all of her power for women's RP1. She dug deep to campus again and again up the wall. Let's hear from her straight after the competition.
Yes, it was a really tough route, but it was nice and I enjoyed it. So yeah, I'm proud because I struggled with one hold and I couldn't reach it. So yeah, I was happy that I finally got it. So yeah, I'm really happy.
Well, enjoy it. You are a world champion.
Thank you very much.
Men's RP1 and the ever-strong Angelino Zella showed his class, campusing straight out of his wheelchair and crushing. A gold for him and another world champion. Moving on to men's RP2, and more Michael Sapir is always a favourite, and he delivered once again, topping out the route and getting his name in the history books for that gold medal. Men's AU2, amputee of the lower limb or a limb deficiency, was won by Matthew Phillips. He became a triple world champion here in Moscow, falling on the last move but beating everyone else. Men's AL2, lower limb amputee or deficiency, belonged to Thierry Delarue. Big, powerful moves characterised his performance, and a gold medal for his efforts. Men's RP3 and Roman Pagnou took the win. He battled to the head wall on the 8A route to stand high on the top of the podium. Let's look at women's RP3 now. Lucie Jarige topped the route, fighting all the way to the end in an exceptional performance. World champion for her. So that's it, the end of an amazing competition. High drama here in Moscow for the paraclimbers.